Up to 5 years in prison and $100,000 in fines. Those are the new penalties for anyone trying to make it rain outlined in the bill Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law on June 20th. Senate Bill 56 outlaws geoengineering or weather modification. Chemtrails are one of the main concerns that State Senator Ileana Garcia of Miami, the bill's sponsor, cited in her proposal.
Yet, many of us senators receive concerns and complaints on a regular basis regarding these condensation trails, aka chemtrails to many.
While the senator may be referring to upper-level wispy cirrus clouds or contrails, she misidentifies them as chemtrails, which conspiracy theorists believe are clouds that form as a result of covert cloud seeding. Mick West, a science writer and fellow for the Committee of Skeptical Inquiry, explains that the two are often confused.
Well, I think the most important thing about cloud seeding is that it doesn't actually leave trails in the air. But what people are pointing at and what people are looking at in the sky are contrails.
But how did this confusion come about?
So they're kind of two different things. And I think people have got them mixed up because they think that they've heard that this chemtrail conspiracy theory is about geoengineering and weather modification. And then they discover that there's this thing called cloud seeding, which actually is weather modification. And then they kind of put two and two together and make 17.
Comments about these so-called chemtrails can be found on almost any social media post of clouds, rain, and even hurricane forecasts. While chemtrails are not real, cloud seeding was the primary target of Senate Bill 56.
Cloud seeding starts with an ice nucleating particle. Naturally, that particle would be dust or salt that naturally occurs within the atmosphere, but in cloud seeding, it is an artificially injected particle of silver iodide. Water that is in a cloud would freeze around that particle and then go through a process called collision coalescence, which is essentially where it bumps into a bunch of other water vapor particles within a cloud, and those then freeze, forming a snowflake that is heavy enough to fall out of the cloud. If it is 32 degrees or above outside of that cloud, that snowflake will then turn into a rain droplet, and that is how we see clouds get seeded and then produce rainfall.
The main concerns Senator Garcia cites are the safety of these weather modification practices. So is cloud seeding safe?
There's 80 years of data on why it's safe, on how at the quantities that we're using it over hundreds of thousands of acres at a time, there's no adverse ecological effect, there's no adverse agricultural effect, there's no human health impact.
Cloud seeding's been done since the 1940s and 1950s, and it's something that's been done perfectly safely ever since then. The amount of the chemicals that it uses, typically silver iodide, is very, very small, and by the time it actually gets down to the ground, it's very, very diluted.
In Florida, there are no ongoing cloud seeding or geoengineering projects. Before this legislation, Chapter 403 of the Florida statutes put the Florida Department of Environmental Protection in charge of approving permits for geoengineering and cloud seeding. Additionally, on a federal level, the FAA and NOAA are required to be informed of any of these practices. A search of NOAA's reporting archives in the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's records show no documented cloud seeding in Florida during the last decade. Augustus Dorigo, the CEO and founder of Rainmaker, a company contracted for cloud seeding, was also unaware of any ongoing cloud seeding or other geoengineering projects in the state's recent history.
Yeah, there's nothing happening in Florida. To my knowledge.
Senator Garcia claimed in her proposal of Senate Bill 56 that cloud seeding no longer serves a practical purpose.
These statutes were originally enacted, in an era where weather modification was seen as a potential scientific tool, but they no longer serve a practical purpose.
Florida ranks second only to California in annual wildfire costs, recording nearly $270 million in losses annually. With drought primarily fueling these fires, was cutting a potential drought prevention measure worth the risk and the price?
Hi, I'm meteorologist Lauren Oleski for CBS 12 News. Click the like and subscribe buttons if you want to see more stories like this that impact you.